In the heart of Eugenia, nestled amongst rolling hills and fertile plains, lies the prosperous village of Luo. For generations, life here has flourished, a vibrant tapestry woven with tradition and deep respect for the land. At the very center of their world, a silent, colossal guardian watches over them, an ancient tree, so immense its branches seem to touch the heavens. This is not just a tree to the people of Luo. It is their god, their protector, the source of all their blessings. Every morning, as the first rays of dawn pierce through the thick canopy, you can see the villagers approach. They come bearing gifts: freshly harvested yams, cool water from the river, and intricate beadwork crafted with loving hands. They lay their offerings at the base of the mighty trunk, its bark gnarled and wise with the passage of centuries. In return, the tree responds. A soft, benevolent light emanates from its core, pulsing gently, its leaves rustling with a voice that speaks of peace and abundance. This sacred exchange is the rhythm of their lives. Among the villagers is a young girl named Akini. Her eyes, wide with a curiosity that outshines the brightest stars, are always fixed on the ancient tree. She spends hours beneath its shade, tracing the patterns on its bark, her mind filled with questions. She often finds Elder Juma there, his face a roadmap of wrinkles, each one holding a story. Akini, my child, he would say, his voice a low, comforting rumble. This tree is our beginning and our end. It gave our ancestors the first seed, and it quenches the thirst of our soil. It hears our prayers and answers with rain for our crops and health for our children. He would point to the thriving fields of maize and to the healthy, laughing children playing nearby. All this, he would whisper, is the tree's gift. Akini listened, but a part of her always wondered, what secrets did those deep roots hold? What did the tree dream of? In the silent, moonlit nights, the stories filled her with awe, but they didn't quench the fire of her curiosity. Then, a change began, as subtle as the shift in the wind before a storm. A shadow, cold and unfamiliar, started to creep over the village of Luo. It wasn't the kind of shadow cast by a passing cloud, but something deeper, something that seemed to seep from the very ground itself. The first sign came from their god. The great tree's leaves, once a vibrant, glossy green, began to curl at the edges, turning a sickly, brittle brown. The soft, benevolent glow that had warmed the heart of the village started to flicker, dimming day by day until it was just a faint, ghostly memory. The rustling of its leaves, once a soothing melody, became a dry, rasping whisper that sounded of pain. Soon, the shadow spread beyond the tree. The fields of maize, once tall and proud, began to wilt. The crops yellowed and rotted on the stalk, untouched by pest or drought. A strange sickness descended upon the village. It started with a persistent cough, a weariness that settled deep in the bones. Children who once ran with boundless energy now lay listless in their huts. The village healer tried every remedy, every ancient urban pull, but the illness clung to the people like a stubborn fog, refusing to lift. Panic began to curdle the air. The villagers flocked to the ancient tree, their offerings now desperate pleas. They prayed louder, their voices laced with fear, but the tree remained silent and dark. Its branches, which once seemed to embrace them, now looked like skeletal fingers clawing at an empty sky. The connection they had cherished for generations felt severed, leaving a void of terror in its place. Where there was once unwavering faith, doubt began to sprout like a poisonous weed. Fear, cold and sharp, replaced the warmth of worship. The heart of Luo village was growing sick, and their god was no longer listening. The fear in the village was a physical thing, a heavy blanket that smothered laughter and hope. But for Akini, fear was secondary to a burning need to understand. The stories of Elder Juma echoed in her mind, stories of a benevolent protector, but they clashed violently with the grim reality before her. She couldn't accept that their god had simply abandoned them. There had to be a reason. One night, when the moon was a sliver of silver in a starless sky and the village was shrouded in an uneasy silence, she made a decision. She had to see for herself. Slipping out of her hut, she moved like a shadow through the deserted pathways, her heart pounding against her ribs. The air grew colder as she approached the ancient tree. It stood as a dark, menacing silhouette against the night. No longer a comforting presence, but a source of dread. As she drew closer, a foul, acrid smell reached her. The smell of decay and something else. Something unnatural. She knelt at the base of the colossal trunk, her small hands digging into the cool earth near its roots. And that's when she saw it. A dark, viscous liquid, black as tar, was seeping into the soil, poisoning the very lifeblood of the tree. It pulsed with a malevolent energy, a creeping corruption that spread like a spider's web through the intricate network of roots. It wasn't the tree that was failing them. Something was killing it from within. As if sensing her discovery, the tree shuddered violently. The remaining leaves fell in a dead cascade, and the branches twisted and warped. Thorns, long and sharp as daggers, erupted from the bark. The faint, dying light at its core flared, but now it was a sickly, hostile purple. A low groan emanated from the trunk, a sound of pure agony and rage. A thorny vine lashed out, striking the ground just inches from where Akemi knelt. In that terrifying moment, the truth struck her with the force of a physical blow. The tree, their protector, their god, had been twisted into a monster. It was no longer their savior. It had become their enemy. Akemi scrambled back, her breath catching in her throat, a scream trapped behind her lips. She ran. She ran not just from the monstrous entity the tree had become, but towards her village, carrying a truth that was far more terrifying than any sickness or failed crop. She burst into the village center, her voice ragged and desperate. The tree. It's the tree. People stumbled from their huts, their faces etched with fear and confusion. She recounted what she had seen: the dark poison, the twisted thorns, the violent rage. At first, they recoiled in disbelief and horror. To even think of their god as an enemy was blasphemy. She is a child. She is frightened and spouts nonsense. One man shouted. But Elder Juma stepped forward. His eyes, usually filled with gentle wisdom, were now sharp and searching. He looked at Akemi's terrified but resolute face, and then towards the dark silhouette of the tree on the hill. He saw the truth in her words. She is right, Juma's voice boomed, silencing the crowd. We have been blind. We prayed to a memory, while a corruption took root in our heart. Our reverence became a chain, binding us to a dying power. He turned to the villagers, his gaze sweeping over their tired, sick faces. The tree is no longer our protector. It is a wound in our land, and it is poisoning us all. We must cut it away, not with axes, but with our spirit. We must sever the connection that is now killing us. His words, spoken with the weight of generations, finally broke through their fear. A new resolve settled over the people of Luo. Led by Elder Juma, they gathered not with offerings of fear, but with the strength of their unified will. They didn't approach the tree, but formed a circle in the village center. They began a ritual, not of worship, but of release. They chanted ancient words of separation, of cleansing, their voices rising together as one powerful force. It was a declaration that their strength did not come from a wooden idol, but from each other, from their community. As the sun rose, a change was felt, not in the tree, but within the people. The air felt lighter. The shadow over their hearts began to recede. They looked to the future, not with prayers to a silent god, but with plans for new wells and different crops, with a promise to rely on their own hands and their shared courage. They were learning to find the divine not in a single, towering idol, but in the resilient, beating heart of their community. The age of the tree god was over. The age of the people of Luo had just begun. Thank you for watching our story. If you enjoyed this journey, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales from around the world. We'll see you next time.